They tried to bury your name before the world could hear it, but the universe wasn't building a secret. It was preparing a stage, didn't they? Didn't they try everything to keep you small? Didn't they smile in your face while sharpening blades behind your back? Didn't they laugh when you were down, whisper when you were silent, and act confused when you finally started to speak up? How dare they? How dare they look at someone like you, a chosen one, and think they had any power over your path? How dare they treat your silence like weakness and your pain like entertainment? They thought you were just another target, just another name to throw around in their fake little narratives. But now they're about to find out the hard way exactly who they were messing with. Before we go further, like this video and subscribe to help send this message straight to more chosen ones. Every like pushes this truth further into the algorithm. The universe needs your voice. Don't just sit there feeling this, do something with it. Confirm your shift, claim your space. Let YouTube know this message matters, because it does. Let's talk. You doubted yourself. Don't lie. You did. You questioned your worth, your voice, your identity. You looked at how they treated you and thought, maybe it's me. But chosen one, they knew exactly who you were. They knew you were powerful. That's why they moved so dirty. That's why they tried to get to you so early. They didn't wait for you to win to hate you. They hated your potential. They saw your value before you did, and it scared the hell out of them. You weren't broken, you were becoming. But to them, becoming was a threat. Your healing made them nervous. Your glow made them bitter. Your silence? It was too loud for their comfort. Every time you stood up straighter, every time you set a boundary, every time you chose peace over drama, they panicked. Because the version of you they were used to, the one they could gaslight, control, manipulate, that version was gone, and they knew it. They pretended they didn't notice. But didn't they start acting different the moment you changed? Didn't they get quiet when you stopped explaining yourself? Didn't they disappear when you finally said no and meant it? They couldn't feed off you anymore. That's why they started reaching for old versions of you, hoping you'd step back into who you used to be. But that version is buried, gone, evolved. You're not imagining the shift. You're not crazy for feeling the energy change when you enter the room. You are chosen, and that energy doesn't need to introduce itself. It announces silently, and still, you doubted. Still, you played small. Still, you tried to make them comfortable while your spirit screamed to be free. The universe didn't turn on you. It isolated you for activation. You weren't abandoned. You were being prepared. You weren't rejected. You were being rerouted. And now, every single person who tried to write you off is about to witness what happens when the universe steps in for one of its own. So let them watch. Let them sit in their confusion. Let them feel what they created. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them your light ever again. All you owe now is this: rise. The stage is yours. The wait is over. The mask is off. And the world is about to see what they tried to bury. This is your moment, chosen one. And this time, no one gets to dim it. So, chosen one, are you ready to stop shrinking and start walking like the world was built to witness your rise? Then do this. Drop the number 77 in the comments right now. Not for me, for you. That's the signal. That's the contract. That's how you tell the universe, I'm not hiding anymore. Each 77 becomes a ripple, another chosen one waking up, another enemy watching in silence. Hit the like button, subscribe, and help this message hit the algorithm like thunder. Because the world won't ignore us any longer. And now we go deeper, step by step. And trust me, If you're truly chosen, you'll feel it in your bones. You'll feel that pull to stay until the final word. This message isn't just content, it's your confirmation. Let's begin. Number 1. They knew who you were before you did. That's why they tried to break you first. They didn't attack you because you were weak. They attacked you because they saw your strength before you had the chance to recognize it yourself. Don't you see it now? They didn't come for you because you were easy prey. They didn't isolate you because you were average. They didn't laugh at your ideas, mock your sensitivity, or belittle your ambition because you were wrong. They did it because you were dangerously right. You were accurate, you were powerful, you were marked, and they saw it before you even had the language to name it. They tried to dim you when you still thought your light was just flicker, but to them, it was already a wildfire. So what did they do? They threw dirt on your spark. They wrapped their jealousy in jokes. They disguised their intimidation as concern. They hit you with fake compliments and backhanded praise to make you second-guess your glow. You're too much. You take things too seriously. You think you're better than everyone. Sound familiar? Of course it does. They've been running that script on chosen ones since the beginning of time. And here's the part that hits the hardest. You believed them, didn't you? You started questioning yourself, started toning it down. You adjusted your volume, your ideas, your essence to make them feel better. You called it humility, but it was fear. Fear that they were right. Fear that maybe your light was too much. And they fed off that fear. They grew stronger every time you made yourself smaller. But let's be brutally honest. How could you not doubt yourself? You were surrounded by people who were more invested in silencing your evolution than supporting it. People who smiled in your face and rolled their eyes behind your back. People who praised mediocrity but punished you for excellence. They didn't want to see you break generational patterns because they were still slaves to them. They didn't want you to become the first because they were comfortable being the last. The universe hid you for a reason. You weren't delayed. You were protected. You weren't overlooked. You were under divine construction. While they were flaunting illusions, you were being refined in private. The silence? That wasn't punishment. That was protection. Because if you had risen too soon, before you knew who you were, you might have given your power away to people who were never meant to hold it. You might have let them lead your destiny straight into ruin. Do you think Oprah was understood when she was getting fired from her first job? Do you think Michael Jordan felt chosen when he was cut from his high school basketball team? Do you think Beyoncé felt powerful when people said she wouldn't survive as a solo artist? Let this sink in. Icons are rarely respected during their becoming. The world only celebrates the finished product, but the enemy sees the threat during construction. You're not hated for what you've done. You're hated for what you're about to do. Let's call it what it is. They tried to break you first because they saw the blueprint. You didn't, but they did, and they were terrified. That's why the attacks started before the success did. That's why the betrayal came before the breakthrough. That's why they treated you like a problem when all you ever were was potential. They saw the king in the cocoon, the queen in the quiet phase, the future icon still learning how to speak. And they panicked. They tried to stomp the butterfly before it flew. And here's the sick part. Some of them tried to keep you close, not because they loved you, but because they wanted front row seats to your collapse. They pretended to support you so they could stay close enough to sabotage you. So they could watch your growth and secretly pray it stops. You mistook proximity for loyalty. But what they really wanted was access without accountability. They wanted to be near the fire, not because it warmed them, but because they hoped to extinguish it. Chosen one, you need to hear this. You were never the problem. You were the mirror, and mirrors make cowards uncomfortable. They don't want to see their mediocrity reflected back when your greatness walks into the room. They don't want to admit they've been standing still while you've been building something real. So they tried to reduce you, tried to distort you. But the thing about energy, it doesn't lie. It doesn't play dress up. It reveals what's true when all masks fall off. And they are falling off now, one by one. So stop asking why they hurt you. Stop wondering why they chose betrayal over support. It's simple. They recognized something in you that you didn't recognize yet. And it scared them. The universe didn't let you see it at first. Because you weren't ready to carry it. You needed the betrayal. You needed the isolation. You needed the heartbreak. Not because you deserved it, but because it would strip you of the illusion that everyone could come with you. They couldn't, and they weren't meant to. But what about the doubt? You still wonder, don't you? Why did I believe them? Why did I let it get to me? Because you had a heart. Because you trusted. Because you loved deeply and expected it back. And they took that light and used it as a weapon. But don't let that turn you cold. Let it make you sharper. Let it make you wiser. The universe didn't build you to be soft. It built you to be solid. And you're standing now, stronger, louder, unapologetically chosen. The shift is here. Can't you feel it? They do. They feel the ground trembling because you're no longer trying to fit into the version of yourself they designed. You're no longer confused. You're no longer giving out explanations like apologies. You're no longer asking for permission to be powerful. You are not becoming, you are here. And the ones who tried to destroy you first, they feel it the most because the energy they feared is the energy you're finally owning. They knew who you were before you did, and that's exactly why they tried to break you first. But the universe was always on your side, even in the silence, even in the storms, especially in the betrayal. Now it's your turn to see what they always saw, and this time, no one's stopping it. Number 2, your evolution was their expiration date. The moment you stopped playing small was the moment their power expired. Let's tell the truth. They didn't start acting weird because you did something wrong. They started acting weird the moment you stopped asking for permission to exist. The moment you started leveling up, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Something in them broke. And it wasn't random. It was timed. Because your evolution, that was their expiration date. The second you stopped shrinking to fit the mold they designed for you, their control over you evaporated. They didn't hate the new you, they feared it. Your boundaries weren't a betrayal. They were a declaration that the old game was over, that they could no longer access you the way they used to. You know it. They know it. The universe knew it before you did. They could only manipulate you when you questioned your own worth. They could only lead you around like a puppet when you hadn't discovered your own light. But now that light is exposing everything, especially them. Don't you remember the switch? One day you were accepted. The next day, suddenly everything was off. You were difficult, different, too focused. Why? Because you were no longer predictable. You were no longer their emotional punching bag, their safety net, their power source. They used to feed on your confusion, on your people-pleasing, on your silence. And when you stopped giving them that, it sent them spiraling. They couldn't celebrate your growth because your growth required accountability, and accountability terrifies people who are committed to illusions. They built their entire identity on being above you. Whether they did it silently with backhanded compliments or loudly with open sabotage, the strategy was the same. Keep you small, keep you useful, keep you quiet. So when you started rising, that wasn't inspiration for them, that was destruction. Your evolution was an earthquake, and it shattered their ego. And here's where you still struggle. You still feel guilty about it, don't you? You still ask yourself, did I change too much? Was I too harsh? Let's shut that down right now. No, you weren't too harsh. You finally stopped betraying yourself to make other people feel safe in their dysfunction. No, you didn't outgrow them unfairly. They had years to rise with you, and they chose to stay low. And now they're mad at you for what they refuse to become. Let them stay mad. Let them talk. Let them sit in their story about how you switched up, while you keep becoming everything they prayed you wouldn't realize you were. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Their downfall is not your fault. The universe isn't punishing them, it's correcting the imbalance, because for too long you carried dead weight in the name of loyalty. For too long you tried to save people who were never drowning, just committed to the bottom. So you ask, why did they turn on me? Because they were never aligned with your future, only your wounded past. They were attached to your trauma, not your transformation. They were comfortable when you were performing struggle. But when you chose clarity, when you chose peace, when you finally chose yourself, that's when the curtain dropped, and the truth was undeniable. They didn't love you. They loved who you were before you knew your value. And that's exactly why the universe had to intervene, because if you didn't evolve, you would have stayed stuck trying to fix people who were sent to distract you. Your kindness was being weaponized. Your empathy was being drained. Your light was being harvested. So the universe pushed you, made you uncomfortable, closed doors, ended friendships, not to punish you, but to prepare you, because you couldn't rise and still carry what was poisoning you. And you still doubt it sometimes, don't you? Still wonder if you're doing too much. Still catch yourself looking back, wondering if maybe, just maybe, they'll change. No, stop that. The version of you they could control no longer exists. And their relevance in your story ended the moment you evolved beyond their reach. They can't catch you now, not because you're running, but because they chose stagnation when the universe was offering growth. You want to know who you are now. You are the version they feared, the one they mocked when you were dreaming, the one they swore would never rise, the one they hoped would stay insecure, unsure, apologizing for taking up space. But you're not apologizing anymore. You're arriving. And the power of your arrival? It's undoing the lies they told about you. Every lie they whispered is dying in the light of your evolution. So let them choke on the silence. Let them talk louder while your actions dismantle their delusions. You don't owe them softness. You don't owe them access. The era of shrinking is over. You are not the same. You are not theirs to use. And you are not going back. The moment you stopped playing small, their power expired. And now, the only thing left for you to do is rise. Number 3. They fed on your doubt, so stop serving it to them. How many times are you going to ask if you're worthy? How many times are you going to stand in front of the mirror, full of light, full of power, full of everything the universe has been pouring into you, and still whisper, is this too much? Chosen one, stop it. Seriously, stop. You're still downplaying your power, still waiting for someone to crown you, still asking for permission to be what you already are. And while you're stuck in self-doubt, your enemies are feeding on it like vultures. They knew what you carried. They always did. They watched you carry entire rooms with your presence. They watched you hold people together while you were silently falling apart. They saw the way you gave, the way you healed, the way you showed up. even for those who gave you nothing but silence in return. And the whole time, they weren't just watching, they were feeding on your hesitation, feeding on your questions, feeding on your fear of stepping fully into who the hell you are. Your doubt was their open door. You think they were confused about you? Please. They weren't confused. They were counting on you being confused, because as long as you doubted your voice, they got to speak louder. As long as you questioned your worth, they got to position themselves above you. And as long as you dimmed your light, they got to stand beside you and pretend they were glowing too. Let's be real. Every time you apologized for shining, they got stronger. Every time you second-guessed a decision you knew was right, they got bolder. Every time you stayed quiet to avoid conflict, they got comfortable. You were too focused on being liked when the universe called you to be limitless. You were trying to blend in with people who were never even close to your frequency. You were asking for validation from those who can't even look in the mirror without lying to themselves. And the worst part? You knew better. You felt it. You knew they couldn't see you clearly, but you still waited for their approval. Why? Don't say it was humility, because doubt doesn't make you humble. It makes you a target. Let that sink in. You weren't being noble by staying quiet. You were making it easier for them to manipulate you. You weren't being respectful by hiding your ideas. You were playing small in a world that's already too full of fake people pretending to be giants. You were holding back because you didn't want to be too much. But chosen one, your too much is exactly what this world needs, and it's exactly what they feared. You ever wonder why your energy makes people uncomfortable? Why your presence gets side eyes, jealousy, silent treatment, and random gossip that doesn't even make sense? It's because you've got a gravitational pull. And they can feel it. Even when you don't say a word. Even when you walk in, just trying to mind your business. Your shift is loud. Your alignment is loud. Your power is too loud to be ignored. And no matter how soft you try to speak, your energy speaks first. And it always says the truth. So why are you still asking if you're enough? Why are you still tiptoeing around your own greatness like it's something fragile? This is not the time to shrink. This is not the season to second-guess yourself. This is war. And in war, hesitation gets you hit. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be legendary. You're here to walk through every room like the universe built it around your purpose, because in many cases, it did. And if you need proof that you're chosen, look at what you've survived. Look at who tried to break you. Look at how much effort they put into keeping you down. You think all that warfare showed up in your life by accident? No. That's not random. That's recognition. Your enemies saw you long before you did. That's why they moved early. That's why they built walls around you before you ever figured out you could fly over them. And now that you're rising, they're shaking, because your doubt was their meal, and now you've stopped serving it. So let them starve. Let them sit in their confusion while you move with certainty. Let them whisper your name while the universe echoes it across rooms you haven't even walked into yet. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your glow. You don't need to justify your standards, your silence, your success. You don't need to apologize for the evolution that left them behind. That's not your guilt to carry. That's their fear to wrestle with. And don't you dare look back out of guilt. Don't you dare soften just to make people comfortable in your presence. If your flame burns their eyes, that's their problem, not your responsibility. You weren't meant to be manageable. You were meant to be undeniable. So stop handing out discounts on your worth. Stop serving your self-doubt on a silver platter just to keep the peace. Peace without power isn't peace. It's suppression, and you've done enough of that. This is your season to own it. to rise, to remember. The universe didn't bring you through hell for you to start questioning if you belong in the palace. You've earned every step of this, and the moment you stop feeding your doubt, you'll watch your enemies start starving on their own delusion. Let them feel it, let them see it, but most of all, let you finally own it. Because chosen one, they only had power over you when you forgot who you were. And that chapter, it's over. Number 4. You're not alone. You've been isolated for activation. Diamonds don't form in crowds. They form in pressure, in silence, in the dark. Chosen one, how many times did you look around and say, "Why is no one here?" How many nights did you sit with yourself thinking the universe forgot about you? How many moments did you take their silence as rejection, their absence as abandonment, your isolation as punishment? Let's clear something up right now. You were never alone. You were being activated. That space wasn't emptiness. It was recalibration. That silence wasn't rejection. It was refinement. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. And yes, let's talk about it. You did mistake the distance for abandonment. Don't deny it. You thought you were forgotten. You thought, why am I always the one carrying everyone else, and no one shows up for me? You thought the people who were supposed to be in your corner vanished for no reason. You thought the doors closing meant the universe was ignoring your prayers. No, you weren't losing. You were being protected, because what's coming next can't afford distractions. It can't afford leeches. It can't afford one more delay from people who drain your purpose and twist your energy. You see, people often ask, if I'm chosen, why am I always alone? Here's your answer: because noise kills alignment. Because the wrong voices, even in love, can reroute your destiny. Because elevation doesn't happen in crowds. It happens in isolation, under pressure, in silence, and in the dark. That's where diamonds are born. That's where warriors are built. That's where chosen ones are activated. You want to glow in public, but you're resisting the private crushing. You want to be seen, but the version of you that's meant to be seen still needed to be sharpened. And that sharpening couldn't happen with distractions hanging off your shoulders like chains. The universe knew you wouldn't cut them off, so it did it for you. And you mistook it for abandonment. Let's be real, some of the people you cried over were never supposed to be in your next chapter. Some of those friends you begged for loyalty would have sabotaged your future with a smile on their face. Some of those relationships you mourned were the very things standing between you and full alignment. But you didn't want to see it, so the universe ripped it away, not to hurt you, but to wake you up. And you did get mad. You got bitter. You thought, why me? Why is this happening again? You asked, why can't I find my people? Why does everyone leave? But what if I told you they didn't leave? They were removed. What if I told you their exit was your protection? What if I told you you weren't ghosted by life? You were called into silence, into focus, into purpose. See, when the universe isolates a chosen one, it's not for comfort, it's for clarity. It's not to wound, it's to awaken. Because too many of you were still trying to carry people who were never meant to walk beside you. Too many of you were still looking for love in places that only served your wounds, not your worth. Too many of you were still asking for direction from people who never walked the road you're on. So yes, you were pulled back, you were hidden, you were separated, and it felt like punishment. But now you're starting to realize you've never been clearer, you've never been more grounded, you've never heard your intuition so loudly, you've never understood your own power so deeply. That's what isolation does. It reveals what the crowd drowned out. It forces you to finally sit with yourself, the real you, not the version you perform for approval. It cuts off the noise long enough for you to hear what the universe has actually been saying this entire time. You are not forgotten. You are being forged. So no, you're not abandoned. You are activated. You are in the exact place you're meant to be. And the people who disappeared, let them go. The ones who couldn't support your rise, let them stay where they fell off. You don't need to go back for anyone who couldn't recognize the becoming that was happening right in front of them. From this moment forward, stop asking why they left. Start asking why you ever thought you needed them in the first place. Stop asking why it got quiet. Start recognizing that silence was your classroom. The universe didn't forget you, it focused you. And now, chosen one, now you walk out of that isolation sharper than ever. Not lonely, not lost, not broken, but activated. And no one can stop what's been built in the dark. They'll see it soon enough. The diamond they thought disappeared is about to step into the light. Number 5. The universe doesn't let the chosen be mocked forever. You didn't clap back, you climbed back, and that silence hits louder than their noise ever did. They thought it was funny, didn't they? The way you stumbled, the way life hit you, the way you kept getting knocked down but still tried to rise again. They laughed. Don't rewrite history. They laughed hard. Behind your back, in group chats, under fake smiles and just checking in texts. They mocked your losses. They downplayed your pain. They whispered stories that twisted your truth, all because they never believed you'd make it through. But the universe saw every bit of it, every lie, every smirk, every time they clapped for your collapse. And now that you're finally rising, their karma is crashing, loud, hard, unavoidable. They thought the chosen one could be laughed off the path. They thought the noise they made around your name would bury your potential. What they never realized is that the universe doesn't let the chosen be mocked forever. There's a limit, a point where mocking turns to mourning, where what they once joked about becomes a warning. And right now, you are that warning. Because let's be real, you never clapped back. You didn't run around trying to prove your name clean. You didn't scream your worth. You didn't go on smear campaigns of your own. You did something much worse to them. You healed in silence. You grew. You built. You elevated without needing their recognition, without begging for their validation, without a single ounce of revenge. And now, the silence you chose is screaming through their lives. You know what hits harder than a comeback speech? Results. You know what breaks louder than an exposed secret? Peace. You chose not to fight fire with fire, and that's what burned them. Because chosen ones don't retaliate with noise. They retaliate with transformation. Now they're watching you walk with a strength they never expected you to survive long enough to find. They're watching you exist in a lane they tried to block. Watching you receive opportunities they swore would never reach you. That's not luck, that's universal correction, because the universe will only let them mock you for so long before it pulls the curtain back, before it flips the script, before the audience they lied to start seeing the truth for themselves. And the truth, it's brutal for them, because it doesn't come with announcements, it comes with receipts. It comes with your name being cleared without you saying a word. It comes with the very people who believed the lies, now watching your life tell the real story. But let's address the part of you that still hesitates, the part that still says, I don't want to seem arrogant. Chosen one, humility doesn't mean hiding. There's a difference between being grounded and playing dead. You're not arrogant for standing tall. You're just not hunched over anymore under the weight of other people's projections. Let them sit with their discomfort. Let them squirm in their guilt. Let them process the fact that everything they said about you is collapsing under the weight of your glow-up. Because this rise, it isn't for applause, it's for alignment. You didn't come back to prove them wrong, you came back to prove the universe right. And make no mistake, that shift they feel, that tension when your name comes up, that unease when they scroll past your success but can't look away, that's not by accident, that's karma doing what it always does, correcting what ego tried to distort. See, they thought they were safe because you were silent. They thought they won because you didn't respond. But what they failed to realize is that your silence was strategy. Because while they were mocking, the universe was moving, rebuilding, repositioning, restoring, and now that the dust is settling and you're no longer down, they're the ones spiraling. The same mouths that slandered you are quiet now. The same people who called you weak are cracking under pressures you already mastered. The same ones who watched you cry for real are now crying in secret because they can't escape the energy they tried to throw at you. That's how it works. What you send out returns. And what they sent was mockery. But what's returning to them now is regret. Let them feel it. Let the weight of their words hit harder now that they see your crown. Let them remember every time they made your name a joke, because the punchline has changed. You're not the victim of the story anymore. You're the plot twist they never saw coming. You didn't have to fight them. The universe did that for you. And the victory? It's in your peace. It's in your clarity. It's in the undeniable truth of who you are, finally showing without resistance. So, chosen one, stop looking back. Stop wondering if they'll ever admit what they did. They won't, and they don't have to, because the world is watching now. Watching you. Watching what they tried to destroy step fully into purpose. They mocked you while you were molding. Now they get to watch the masterpiece. And the silence you chose, it's louder than their noise ever was. Let it echo. Number 6. They pretended you were nothing, but watched you like you were everything. They said you were nothing special, remember? Said you were doing too much. Rolled their eyes when you spoke from your heart. Mocked your path like it was some fantasy. Acted like you were reaching too high, dreaming too loud, caring too deeply. They tried to shrink your name every chance they got, while secretly watching your every move like it was the most important thing on earth. Fake love, real envy, the obsession was always real. Let's break this wide open. They pretended you were irrelevant, unimportant, forgettable, but the truth is, you were always the blueprint. The very ones who called you crazy were copying your every move behind closed doors. Watching how you speak, how you walk, how you think. Taking your ideas, your phrases, your style, dressing it up, watering it down, and calling it their own. They wanted your glow, but not your growth. They wanted your energy, but not your story. And most of all, they wanted your shine, without ever doing your shadow work. Chosen one, don't get it twisted. You weren't invisible, you were unforgettable. They didn't ignore you, they memorized you. They watched your pain like entertainment. They watched your healing like a threat. And now that you're rising, they're watching even harder, but still won't give you the credit. Because here's what they'll never admit. You gave them their blueprint. You set the tone. You shifted the culture. You created a lane they now walk in, pretending they built it. You didn't just exist. You influenced. And that's exactly what made you a target. Think about it. If you were really nothing, why did they copy so much? Why did your silence make them insecure? Why did your presence make the room shift? Why did your consistency feel like competition to people who swore they weren't watching? They saw you before you saw you. That's why they moved the way they did. Because what do the insecure do when they feel threatened? They try to diminish the source of the threat. They downplay, they discredit, they throw shade and act like it's just jokes. But what they were really doing was hiding their fear. Fear that you'd figure it out. Fear that you'd realize you were never one of them. You were always the one they were secretly trying to become. And I know you felt the energy. I know you saw the way they acted confused every time you made a move they couldn't predict. I know you noticed how they only came around to extract ideas, not to support you. And I know you brushed it off, thinking, maybe I'm imagining it. But you weren't imagining it. They were studying you like a textbook while pretending you were fiction. And now that your truth is rising, they don't know what to do. Let's talk about the hate, that sudden shift in tone, the way the conversations changed, the way their compliments turned to silence. That wasn't random. That was envy wearing its real face. Because it's one thing to mock someone you don't understand. It's another thing to realize the person you've been mocking is the very one who birthed the wave you're trying to ride. And here's where you need to stop playing humble. Stop pretending you don't notice the copying. Stop pretending it's flattery when it's theft. Stop questioning your originality because others lack the integrity to give credit. You've always been the blueprint, the chosen one, the origin, the first ripple, the loud idea in a world full of whispers. Your way of thinking? They tried to suppress it. Now they're monetizing it. Your emotional depth? They laughed at it. Now they're using it as branding. Your spiritual sensitivity? They dismissed it. Now they're turning it into content. You walked so they could run, and they're hoping you never bring it up. But you don't have to. The truth is louder than any of their masks. Because no matter how much they try to imitate, they can't duplicate energy. They can't fake the root. They can't manufacture what's divine in you, what's authentic in you, what was assigned to you. And here's what should light the fire in your spirit. They still watch, they still scroll, they still listen, because no matter how hard they pretend not to care, you remain the signal they can't ignore. So, chosen one, stop hiding your gift to protect egos that would steal from you and still never say thank you. Stop holding back so they feel comfortable in your presence. You were never the copy. You were always the source. Let them talk. Let them fake. Let them build off the pieces they borrowed, because what you carry can't be replicated. And now that your power is no longer a secret, their performance? It's looking weaker by the day. They pretended you were nothing, but watched you like you were everything. Why? Because you are. And no matter how long they fake it, they'll never be able to fake being you. Number 7. You don't owe them an explanation, just your absence. You don't owe them clarity. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them a single sentence of justification. Let them sit in their confusion. Let them spiral in their silence. Because, chosen one, your absence is the loudest truth you'll ever deliver. They wanted you to beg for understanding. They expected you to stay stuck explaining your growth to people who benefited from your confusion. But the old version of you is done performing. You don't throw pearls to swine. You walk off wearing the crown they swore you'd never earn. They can play dumb all they want, but they know why you're gone. They felt the shift. They felt the moment your energy stopped pouring into them. They felt when the lifeline disconnected, and now they're gasping in their own emptiness. That's not on you. They laughed when you were searching for your worth. Let them cry now that you've found it. You tried. You explained. You gave warnings they ignored. Now your silence is sacred. It's power. It's peace. It's punishment without pettiness. Chosen one, you don't argue with those who refuse to grow. You elevate and leave them at the level they begged to stay on. No more explaining, no more justifying, no more reaching back to make them understand something their spirit was never built to carry. Let them wonder, let them obsess, let them realize too late. You don't owe them your light, especially not after they mocked your darkness. You owe them one thing only, your absence. Number 8. This is what they feared. The day you finally saw what they always knew. They weren't confused. Don't give them that excuse. They knew who you were, long before you knew it yourself. That's why they moved the way they did. That's why they belittled you, backstabbed you, mocked you, and tried to mold you into someone smaller, quieter, weaker, because deep down they saw the weight in your presence. And it terrified them. They saw your light, and that's why they fought you. Understand this, their attacks were never about who you were at that moment. They were about who you were becoming. They knew your voice could shift rooms. They knew your intuition was sharp. They knew your gifts weren't common. So they whispered lies, stirred up doubt, and wrapped their envy in fake smiles. And you, being heart first, being trusting, you believed them. For too long, you believed them. They hoped you'd never figure it out. They banked on your confusion. They needed you to stay unsure, insecure, always questioning, always reaching outside yourself for validation. Because as long as you didn't know they still had the upper hand, as long as you stayed blind to your power, they could keep playing superior. But now, you see it. Now you know. You feel the shift in your body, your mind, your energy. You're not asking anymore. You're not shrinking anymore. You're not wondering if you're too much. Now you own it. You own the very thing they tried to make you hate. You walk in it. And that's what they feared. The rise, the reckoning, the return. The king has risen. The queen has returned. The icon is awake, and the universe is clearing the stage. Now all they can do is watch. And now, chosen one, the message is clear. You were never the underdog. You were the rising storm they prayed would never come. The lies, the silence, the sabotage, none of it stopped you. It only delayed the inevitable. Now the world sees what they always knew, but hoped you'd never realize. You were born to lead, not follow. If this message hit your spirit, like this video, subscribe to stay locked in, and drop the number 77 in the comments to claim your rise. Share this with another chosen one. It's time we all step into the spotlight.